Hi, these comments are for NU. I am Michael, the founder, owner, and the materials writer for OTC Online TOEFL And Happy New Year, right? In what, a couple of days? So I hope that you have a Happy New Year 2021. As I said in my video yesterday, I hope that this next year is better than this one. And I think any year probably is going to be better than this last year that we had, right? And happy holidays to you and your families. So I'm getting set up here. You're doing integrated speaking practice. She said, "Hi, Michael. This is an integrated speaking task from TPO 33. If you don't know what this means, YouTubers, TPO's TOEFL Practice Online. Right? If you want a good link to TOEFL Practice Online, go over to my website at bettertoeflscores.com. I posted some information about Zaban TOEFL. So go to bettertoeflscores.com. You can find out that link and that information. Okay, so, well, what are we waiting on? Okay, here we go.
According to the proposal, university should include two changes to its bicycle borrowing program. Firstly, the borrowing period should be reduced to 4 hours, and secondly, students should be required to leave their ID cards instead of cash deposit to borrow a bike. The man in the conversation does not agree with this idea, and he gives two reasons to support his opinion. To begin with, he mentions that since students on the campus may need a bike for doing activities outside campus, therefore they need access to bike for a longer period of time because such activities may take up entire day. So having bikes for limited time won't be useful for the students. Secondly, he mentions that since students require ID card to enter buildings such as a library and dining hall, so submitting the ID card won't be a practical suggestion, and that's why he disagrees.
Okay, it seems like you have a pretty complete and accurate response, right? So you had one mixed construction in there. You said since blah blah blah, therefore. That's a grammatical problem. That's a grammatical error. It's called a mixed construction. That's the only thing I noticed. The obvious, I'm going to listen to it one more time more closely, but I think you're probably between 24 and 26 points out of 30 on this practice test. I'm looking over at the rubrics. A lot of what you're doing kind of fits kind of in both of these categories here. So that's where we are right now. Okay, let's listen to it one more time.
According to the proposal, university should include two changes to its bicycle borrowing program. Firstly, the borrowing period should be reduced to 4 hours.
So the borrowing period, you need to pronounce that P more clearly.
And secondly, students should be required to leave their ID cards instead of cash deposit.
So they should leave their ID cards instead of their cash deposits. Deposits. Again, the P.
Borrow a bike. The man in the conversation does not agree with this idea, and he gives two reasons to support his opinion.
I would just say the man doesn't agree with this, or the man presents two reasons why he disagrees with this proposal, something like that.
To begin with, he mentions that since students on the campus may need a bike for doing activities outside campus, therefore they need...
That's the problem right there. So since plus subject plus verb, but after that you now need a subject and a verb. You don't need therefore. You've already used the causal kind of relationship by using since. Since students blah blah blah, they plus verb there, right? So get rid of the word therefore. You don't need that because you're using what's called a complex sentence. So you have a dependent clause and an independent clause, and you're trying to show that cause-effect relationship that way. So don't mix your sentence styles. Go to Google. What is a mixed construction in academic writing? You can look at it that way. That might help you.
Access to bike for a longer period of time because such...
For a longer period. When you say period, there's really no need to say period of time. Just say longer period or longer time.
Activities may take up entire day. So having bikes for limited time won't be useful for the students.
Good. I like that. Having blah, blah, blah would be using a gerund phrase as a subject. That's pretty complicated grammar.
Secondly, he mentions that since students require
How about secondly, the man claims? But instead of putting the man mentions, the man claims, you're always putting your voice marker in the beginning of that sentence. I mean, you can probably do it in other areas. So I want you to go to the speaking part of my course and look where it says paraphrasing with voice markers and check out that lesson. Or you can go over, if you go to Google, here's some keywords for you: TOEFL reporting verbs. And as you go through the lesson, I want you to get used to where you can place the reporting verbs, and it doesn't always have to be in the beginning of the sentence.
ID card to enter
Require ID cards. Cards.
buildings such as a library and dining hall. So submitting the ID card won't be a practical suggestion, and that's why he disagrees.
It would be a practical or impractical. What did you say there? Let me make sure I'm hearing you.
According to the proposal, bikes for limited time won't be useful for the students. Secondly, he mentions that since students require ID card to enter buildings such as a library and dining hall, so submitting the ID card won't be a practical suggestion, and that's why he
It would be a practical suggestion or would be an impractical suggestion?
disagrees.
Okay, so I think that my score is pretty accurate. I'm going to say 24 to 26 points out of 30. So sometimes with certain sounds, differentiating, for example, between the P and the B consonants, or trying to pronounce the T versus the D consonant, or making sure that the S at the end is either an S or a Z sound. You're not 100% sure about those. So if you go to syllable division and grammatical word endings in the pronunciation area of my course, I want you to study the lesson that focuses on the S. How do we pronounce the S ending? Right? Go over that lesson. Okay, I think that's good. So 24 to 26 points. All right, thank you.